Hey Floss Tube, this is Brian. Welcome back. This is my 69th Floss Tube video, and I plan on sharing with you what I have been working on this week. First of all, I want to welcome you. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I hope you enjoy the things that I have to share with you. If you are returning, thank you for coming back and watching my videos. I really appreciate it. And I also want to thank everybody for all of the comments they have left, for all of your encouragement and suggestions. I really appreciate that. It's been a great couple of weeks. I didn't film last Saturday because last Saturday was just a very busy day for me. I was gone from 7 in the morning till about 5:30 that night, and came home absolutely exhausted. So there was just no way that I was going to be able to film a video. So we're going to cover what I've been doing for the past 2 weeks. And I'm excited to share with you what I have been able to accomplish. But first of all, I want to respond to some questions that people have left me in my comments in the last couple of weeks. So first of all, Gail asked me, how can you tell if a chart is computer generated or not? And the first thing is just to know that the companies that do that, for example, Heaven and Earth Designs is one of those. Another clue is if you look at the number of stitches, if it is a high stitch count, and if it recommends stitching over 1 on like 25 count fabric or 28 count fabric, that's another clue, because a regular designer is not going to be creating a design that big. And I guess the last thing is, generally if it's a painting that is being converted to cross stitch and it looks very much like a painting, it is probably computer generated. That is kind of the method that they have used recently. There are some designers like Barbara and Cheryl that they actually did adapt paintings for cross stitch, but their designs aren't as big as the computer generated ones, and you can kind of tell because if you look at what the original painting was, there is a pretty significant difference, and you can tell it's the designer's adaptation and interpretation of the painting rather than running it through a computer. So you can just kind of look and get a good feel for whether or not a chart is computer generated. So T. Adams asked me about a video where I talked about the apps that I use. I think you're asking me about the video where I talk about the spreadsheet that I use, and I can't remember which one it is, but I will link to it down below. I think that it's pretty obvious. I think there's something about spreadsheet in the title. It's not a regular Floss Tube video, so it should be pretty easy to pick out, but I'll put a link in the notes below for you if you want to check that out. So Denise asked me, how can you calculate the size of the fabric for a design? And she specifically asked about a mid-Amish life, which I guess in that case you've got three separate designs that I am stitching as one piece. And the first thing that I'll say is, with that, all you need to do is the height of the design is the same for all 3 pieces, and I checked and made sure that was the case. And then all you have to do is add the widths of the stitch widths of the 3 designs, and that'll give you your total width. And I'm going to do a little bit of math here, but here is how you calculate fabric size based on the number of stitches. And there are apps on the web that will do this for you, and I even do this calculation in my spreadsheet, so I don't have to do it. But this is the formula. Okay, you take the number of stitches and you divide it by your fabric count. And then if you are stitching like on Ada or stitching over one, then that is the width of your, that will be the width of your design on that fabric. But if you are stitching over two on something like a 32 count linen or even weave, then you also want to divide that resulting number by 2 again. And that will give you the design, the size of the design. From there, generally you want to add a little bit of margin on the sides because if you're planning on, because whatever you're planning on doing with it, you need a little bit of edge. And so you need to decide what kind of margin you want to use. I generally prefer 3 inches at least. And so if you decide you want to do a 3-inch margin, you need to multiply that 3 by 2 because you're putting that margin on each side of the design. So 3 times 2 is 6, and then you add that to your original calculation. And that will give you the size of the design on that fabric. And you need to do that for the width, using the stitch width, and for the stitch height. And that will give you the size of the size of fabric that you need for that design. So it's just math, and I've seen a lot of people say they just rely on the apps. I kind of like to know the formula because then I can make sure that the number that the apps is giving me makes sense. So that I don't make a mistake. You know, if you accidentally type in a number wrong, then you could end up calculating the wrong size of fabric. So that's the formula, and you know, you can just use that as a rule of thumb to kind of make sure that you understand that you're getting numbers that make sense for the design that you are doing. And then finally, last time I talked about the stitch along that I am starting in January, and that is this. I'm going to be starting the Red House Sampler by the Sampler Company. And I've invited anyone who wants to join with me. And Caroline from Off the Grid Needle Arts, she left me a comment saying, well, every time you show that design, I really like it, but I've held off on buying it. But if you say that I have to, I guess that I have to. And Caroline, you know, I don't presume to be the boss of anyone, but you are more than welcome to join me and start the sampler. I still have to decide what fabric I'm going to use for this, and I haven't really decided yet. The original design was stitched on 18 count Rustico, which I don't think you can buy that anymore. I don't know if it's available, and I don't know that I would stitch it on 18 count anyway. I would prefer stitching it on a linen or an even weave. It kind of looks white, but I don't think it is. I think, if I remember right, Rustico was kind of a fabric that had kind of darker threads running through it. So, but I'm trying to decide what I'm going to do. I don't think I want to do it on white. Maybe an off-white or a beige or something. I don't think I want to go too dark because I worry that if I go too dark that it'll kind of obscure anything. So you are welcome to give me a suggestion as what kind of fabric you think this would look good on. I'm always open to suggestions. Okay. Also, finally, a couple of weeks ago, I talked about how I tried stitching like Vonna stitches, where instead of turning the needle around, pushing it back up, instead of turning the needle back around when I go back up, stitching with pushing the eye end up first through the hole in the fabric. And Krista sent me. She said, you know, John James makes double pointed needles, and she said maybe you should try those out. And she said, I've used those. I started using them a long time ago, and I've never gone back. Those are the only needles that I use. And I said, oh, thanks for the suggestion. I'll have to check them out. And then she said, I'll send you some. So Krista, thank you so much. She sent me some double-pointed needles, and I've already started using one. She sent me different sizes. This is a size. She sent me a 22, a 24, and a 26 size. And I've already tried it out. I started using the size 26 on my project this week, and I kind of like them. I got into a real zone with those needles because I could just go down and just move over a little bit and push right back up through the fabric. The only thing that I haven't figured out, or the problem that I have, is I need to learn how to be more careful with my floss when I come back up through the fabric, because I was catching my floss with the needle as I came back up through the fabric, and so then I got this great big knot in the floss, and I did that several times. So I haven't figured out what to do to make sure that I don't catch the floss with the needle. Also, I broke my size 26. So because the eye is in the middle, that's also the weakest point. And I was really going to town, and I grasped the needle wrong and broke it right in half. So I think I'm going to get some more of these needles because they're really nice. They're John James. They call them quick stitch needles. And I think I'm going to get some more of those because I really enjoyed working with them. There's a couple of kinks I have to work out with using them, but I'm sure that I can do that. Krista also sent me a really nice card, the Eiffel Tower. And so thank you, Krista. Thank you for sending those to me. I really appreciated it. It's been really nice having them, and I plan on using the size 24 this week with the project that I'm working on to see how that goes. So, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay, one last thing. I have another pattern from the Fat Quarter Shop from It's So Emma Stitchery that I would like to give away. I received this in the mail about a week ago. This is called Bringing Home the Tree. I really like this one. I think I'm going to stitch this. I do not know when, but I really like it. So I'm going to give away the extra copy that I have. So this is really exciting. Anyway, if you would like to own this pattern, you can leave it in your comment below. Leave a comment with the keyword tradition. We're getting close to Christmas, and so I want to hear about what is your favorite Christmas tradition. And you can leave that in the comment. Use the keyword tradition so that I can select your comment out with the random comment generator, and we'll hold a drawing to see who gets this. Yeah, I really like this one, so I'm planning on stitching it sometime. Okay? Okay, I'm going to show you one graph, one chart. And this chart is basically, it's the bars. There's a bar for each of my whips. And the height of the bar indicates the number of days that it has been since I last worked on this project. Now my whips are in order from oldest to youngest, so you can see over on the left-hand side is my oldest whip, which is English Garden Sampler, and over on the right-hand side is my newest whip, which is Santa's Enchanted Flight. And if I were working through my rotation normally, you would see basically, you could see where I was in my rotation, and after that point you would have a large number of bars that would go down, and then you would also have another set of bars that would go like this. They're kind of all out of sync right now because of the last time I went through my rotation, I spun and randomly chose the project to work on. So by the time I get through this rotation, then everything will look like an orderly slope. As you can see, this kind of surprises me. The piece that I haven't, that has been the longest since I have worked on it, is A Saviour's Praise, which is the design by Teresa Wentzler of Shakespeare's Peddler. It has been 3 months since I have worked on that piece. And that is just because it took so long to get through my rotation the last time, and I believe that was the first piece that I worked that came up on my rotation. So it is kind of languishing, and I'm missing it. In fact, I had somebody on Instagram ask me if I had stopped working on it, if I had given up on it. And no, I haven't. I still plan on working on it. I'm itching to work on it. It's time. But it's not going to be this week. It's going to be next week. I'm going to start on that. So I'm looking forward to that. So I really like this graph. It kind of tells the story of my rotation a little bit. Okay, so let's talk about what I've been working on this week. Okay, when I left you last time, I said I was going to work on English Garden Sampler. Of course, this is a design by Teresa Wentzler. This is my oldest whip. I've been working on it for 3 years, and I still have a long ways to go. That was driven home to me as I worked on it this week, because I didn't do as much as I thought I would. Anyway, I'll show you what it looked like the last time you saw it. And I am stitching this on 25 count antique white Lugana with the called for colors, but not with DMC, with Sullivans. Okay, and I really enjoyed working on this, and I'll show you what I was able to accomplish. So this is what it looks like now, and as you can see, I'm working across here, and I was able to stitch quite a bit of this actually. You can start to see the stone fence that comes along here, and there's a lot of plants and stuff that moves around along here, and actually this side of the hedge ends right here, and right about here, and that's where the gate starts. So I'm really close to finishing this side. But I thought I'd be able to stitch a lot more than I actually did. This has just taken a long time, and I've actually slowed down a little bit as compared to how I was able to stitch up here, and I'm not quite sure why that is. It doesn't feel like it's any more complicated than this was, but I'm really working slowly through it. But I'll give you a little bit closer look at it. And see that I really, it's really starting to look good. You'll see there are holes in here. That's because there are stitches there are colors that are stitched with blending filament. I'm going to wait till I get over here to come back in and fill in those stitches. So yeah, so like I say, right here is the beginning of the gate, and then I'm going to stitch the gate, and then I'll start working on the other side. The gate is stitched over one actually, and Teresa Wentzler doesn't do anything easy. There are like 3 or 4 colors in the gate. So I suspect the gate is going to take me a long time to stitch also, just because it's kind of complicated and it's over one. But yeah, I'll give you a closer look at this. because I just really like how that's turned out. So, you know, I think I've still got a while with this one. Because once I finish the cross stitching, then there's all the back stitching and the specialty stitches and the cut work. I've still got a long ways to go. But yeah, no, it's coming along, slowly but surely. I keep telling myself that that I'll get it done eventually if I just keep working on it. So that was what I worked on 2 weeks ago, and then this last week I pulled out the next piece in my rotation, and that is 4 Seasons, a primitive Quaker year. That is a design by Modern Folk. This is a design by Modern Folk Embroidery, and it was the stitch along that he designed for 2018. I'm kind of slow because here we are at the end of 2019 and I'm still working on this. But I'll show a picture of what it looked like the last time you saw it. I am stitching this on 35 count Classic Homespun, which is a fabric by R&R. I really like this fabric. I really like the color. And I am also stitching it with Silks4U PR175. I believe. And, or is it, no, it's PR175. And that color is a really nice royal blue color. So I'll show you what it looks like now. So I am really happy with my progress with this. So I stitched this heart over here, and this butterfly, and then there are a couple of smaller motifs, and then I stitched this half medallion and this half medallion, and then there's this little diamond here that I stitched, and then I stitched summer, and then I started this. The whole bottom of this piece is mostly this great big huge plant in an urn, kind of like this one up here. So I started working on that. I got the main central bloom finished, and now I'm just working on the branches to come over. There's blossoms on either side. And of course the urn down here, so the pot that it sits in. So yeah, no, it's been really fun working on this. I really like working in one color. It's a nice break from a whole bunch of color changes like I have with English Garden Sampler. I can just stitch, and it's really nice. So I'll give you a little bit closer view. Yeah, I really like this butterfly. I really like that. And these were fun to stitch also. So yeah, I'm halfway through summer. I've just got this big plant to stitch down here, and then the borders, and then I'll be finished with summer. So maybe I'll be able to finish this plant the next time I pull this out. It feels kind of weird because we're through summer. I almost thought maybe I should work on autumn because we're in autumn, but no, I'm gonna finish summer first. So we'll zoom out so you can see the entire thing again. Yeah, so that's been really fun, and I've really enjoyed working on it. So what am I going to work on this next week? Well, if you looked at my graph, you probably know. And in retrospect, I think maybe I should have taken the order that I spun my rotation last time. Maybe I should have just said, okay, that's my new order. Because when I spun, it did like all of my newer projects first and then did my older projects. So it hasn't been very long since I worked on this piece. And yeah. But we'll get this all straight. I guess if I ever decide to spin, if I ever get tired with my order again, I'll spin and that will be my new order. But we're not going to do that right now. And I'm trying to find, yeah. So I'm going to be working on Amid Amish Life again. It's only been a couple weeks. And I'm actually excited to work on it. I want to see more of this design appear. It just seems a little bit soon. And I'm not complaining, but I am looking forward to working on it because I want to see more of this house and I want to see more of the people. And I am stitching this on 25 count Wedgewood Lugana. I am stitching it over 2 with 3 strands of floss, so 3 over 2. And I am stitching with the DMC colors. I decided to use 3 strands because I wanted to make sure that I got good coverage because 25 count is kind of makes big stitches. It's kind of a small count. So yeah, so this is what it looks like now. So I'm down here, so I need to finish this diagonal and then we'll start back up at the top. And we might see, there's a chimney up here that we might see. We'll be able to see more of the chimney over here. I'm getting really close to finishing all the white in the house. So that is actually pretty good and I'm excited to see more take shape. I hope that I am able to stitch a couple more diagonals on this. And I'm excited to try this with the double pointed needles that I got, partly because I'm curious to see if they help my stitches look a little bit better, because hopefully they'll keep me from twisting my threads quite as much, and I guess we'll see if that theory holds. So I'm going to pull out my size 24 double pointed needle and I'm going to give it a shot with this. We'll see how it goes, and I'll report to you next week on what I think about that. But yeah, the modern folk embroidery piece, I was only stitching with one strand of floss, so the only thing that it really helped with is my speed. So we'll see how it goes with this. Anyway, I'm excited to work on this again, and we'll see how it goes and how much I'm able to accomplish. At any rate, that is all that I have to share with you. Thank you so much for spending time with me. As always, if you want to follow my daily progress, you can follow me on Instagram. My username is @blitstitch on Instagram, and you can follow me there. As always, if you haven't yet, feel free to subscribe to my channel, and feel free to comment below. And I'm always open to answering any questions that you have for me. And and feel free to like this video as well. I hope that you have a great week, and we will talk to you later. Goodbye.